You have the floor. All right, so welcome everyone. This is Nature's Allies for Empowerment and Change. I'm so excited about this. When Melanie wrote the description of what this presentation was going to be about, I really keyed into the moving power of essential oils. And then she said, these aromatic plant compounds are messengers, which made me think of a lot of what we do. Gently yet powerfully inviting us to release what's not serving us and shift our state to a higher vibration on a cellular level. Like, who doesn't want that? And I know we had quite a few of you sign up, and you may be waiting for the recording, so we will definitely send that to you. And let me introduce Melanie. She is a 3-time certified certified coach. 3 certifications, one being a cancer journey coach, another being strength finders and personal whole person design. And she's also a Reiki master. So it's with pleasure and delight I present you Melanie McCloskey.
Thank you so much, Sherry Ann. And I just want to talk about everything at once, but I'm gonna go with the flow here. So when Sherry Ann asked me to do this, we had an amazing conversation about it and the way that it came out, because the way I talk about oils comes out differently every single time. But the way it came out when I talked to Sherry Ann was so sweet. And I wanted to kind of go with that for us today. So I want you to think about, and I know a lot of people are going to be watching this recording, so this qualifies for you too, but who do you lean on when you need something? Who do you lean on when things get tough? When you have big news, or maybe you feel lost or frustrated, anything like that, or even when things are good. But do you lean on particular people for particular things? Right?
Yeah.
And so I have friends that really help ground me. I have other friends that bring me up. I have other friends that help me really clarify what I'm thinking, see the bigger picture, or give me a kick in the butt and motivate me, So those are all, and I would never do away with those friends. Those are my go-to friends, but I also have a different community of friends that I'm going to talk about today. And that is my essential oil community, and including people, but also the oils themselves. So that's sort of the way that I want to talk about it today. And so oils can help us on our individual journeys. We're all so different. And when we really tap into our authentic selves, it can be beautiful to have that sense of belonging with ourselves. And oils help us to connect with who we truly are and feel like we can really see ourselves and what we need in the moment. So we can have something that's a go-to, like I need a lift and I'm going to grab some peppermint, and because I need that friend that really motivates me. And different oils work for different people. We'll talk about that. So I really value both being intentional with learning. So I'm curious what brought everyone here today. And you can use the chat if you don't want to talk. And I also value making it really useful. So I am going to try not to fire hose you, but I have a lot to get through. And I want to make it interactive. So I'm going to be asking some questions and things like that to help people make sure that you're following along and that sort of thing. So, but first off, are there any specific questions that you hope that I address today? Or anything that you're really curious about or excited to learn?
Well, I can start.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kelly, stepped on you. It is the month of Soulful Heart for us. That's one of our values. And I'm really interested in hearing how we can use these natural friends, I love how you say that, to really get in touch with ourselves. So if you could touch on that would be groovy.
Yep, you got it. All right. Kelly, I saw you unmuted.
Yeah, three topics that I hear a lot from my clients. So, grieving, if there's friends, essential oil friends for grieving work,
Yeah.
work, pain, physical pain, emotional pain, and definitely that anxiety or panic.
Ah, okay. All right. Anything else that anyone wants to say?
So Melanie, it's Mary, and what I'm I don't know anything, so I'm like
Awesome.
blank slate. But
Yay.
what I love how you talked about this idea of friends. But what I got too is um, learning how to help use essential oils to sort of shift perspective.
Yes.
So,
Huge.
yeah.
Yep. Oh, I love it. Okay.
Cool.
Great. Amanda?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm really excited to hear about the combination of like inner work and the use of oils, because I love that you have that both of those sides. And so how they incorporate and play together, I'm fascinated by.
Okay. Great. Well, we're going to be here for about 5 hours. So great. Okay. All right. Well, since I love that there's a spectrum, so that way I can cover everything and cover the basics and all that, and then sort of go into the deeper piece. So I'm going to spend the first third of the time on sort of the basics, because it's really important to me to make sure people have that. And then we'll get into the deeper emotional, the heart-centered, soulful stuff. And then I'll have lots of time for questions and discussion after. So if you feel like it's not a good time to jump in and ask a question, make sure you write it down, and then we'll cover it at the end, and I'll be sure to make sure we have time to answer. So most people want to know, or they get curious about how I got into using essential oils and then becoming such an advocate for them. And like anything, it's not linear at all. I like to say they found me and they kept knocking, and it was before becoming a coach 13 years ago, I actually worked in the alternative medicine field, and I was an operations manager at medical clinics for acupuncturists and chiropractors and things like that. So I'm not at all new to alternative therapies. I've used herbs since I was a teenager. And so none of that was new. And of course, I'd experienced some oils and massage and things like that. And I had even bought a few, but I had no idea what to do with them. So, but I knew that they were valuable. And then my ex-partner, actually, he had bought a bunch of stuff, and he was like, I'm not using this. Do you want it? And I was like, oh yeah, I know that's valuable. I'll take that. And this was actually right around the time I met Sherry Ann too, which is kind of hilarious. And so they were sitting on his shelf, and then they transferred to my house and sat on my shelf for about a year. And I had no idea the gold that I had. And what was interesting was I was going through one of the very roughest years in my life. And I had big health issues, back injuries. I was going through a lot of grief. My mother was passing away of cancer in that process. I had 2 other friends pass away unexpectedly in that time period. And my partner and I decided to separate. So all of that happened in a very short time period while these little friends were sitting on my shelf. And I used the toothpaste a bunch, but that was about it. And I was really addicted to that toothpaste. Someone found me on the internet and hired me to coach them in a transition from being a full-time school teacher to, they were actually a wellness advocate for our oil company. And she knew that I had some oils. And so we never even talked about it for a year, which was crazy. And here these sat, and it just didn't come up. And next thing I know, I heard about that there was a class, and I was like, hey, can I come to that class? Because I really want to know how to use these oils. And it was being taught by a naturopath on cleansing. And I had a lot of gastrointestinal issues at the time. And so I ended up going to that class, and it was like, poof, it was like the Matrix, like everything fell into place. It was like, these are amazing. And long story short, I was head over heels, and these oils that had been following me finally were like, oh, finally she gets it, you know? And so I started using them and was having really profound shifts in my health and my mood and my mental state even. And being someone who is really loves tools for powerful change, I could not start telling people about it. And then they got curious. And so next thing I know, I'm being an advocate myself for oils, and I have a side job that I did not see coming at all. So that's how it started. And it's about 8 years later, I think now, or 7 years, something like that. And so now it's a nice supplement to the transformational work that I do with coaching to support people on mental, emotional, spiritual level. So that's why I'm here. That's what it is. And it sounds like there's a range of experience with oils in the room. I know some people are new, some people have no experience, and some people have a lot of experience. So, okay, so I'm going to start my screen share here. I don't like not being able to see everybody, so I think I can see folks there. Can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is me. And here's the goals of today. So want to let you know, like I said, what are essential oils? I'm going to teach you 3 ways that we can use them. And then I really had a lot of trouble saying what this third thing is, because Sherry Ann, you know, the way of how to use them to get in touch with ourselves. And also it feels like these catalysts to activate the best of ourselves, or our most authentic self, the ones where we feel like we really belong to us, our home. And I have a really hard time getting words to that, but that's the goal. That's what I'm going to talk about. Okay, so what is an essential oil? Here's the basics. It's a volatile aromatic compound that's naturally occurring in certain plants. Not all plants have them, and not all parts of plants have them. So they're produced in various glands and sacs. And you can see here that's a magnified peppermint oil sac. Everybody's grabbed some peppermint and smelled it. Then you've experienced an essential oil when it rubs off on your hands. So we extract them from seeds, bark, stems. Whoops, there we go. And leaves, roots, resins, all sorts of things. They are highly, highly, highly concentrated. 1 drop of peppermint oil can be equivalent to 28 cups of tea. So it little goes a long way. Yeah. And when you rub oil on the bottom of your feet, it takes anywhere between 30 seconds and 4 minutes to diffuse into every cell in your body. And so they're very small molecules that with very great chemistry. And they do, I'll get into that in the future, but they do cross our cell barrier, so they can actually infuse into ourselves. And it takes a large amount of plant material to distill down into 1 small bottle. So they're very precious too. Okay. So what role do essential oils play in plant life? They use them for a lot of like vital functions that we know of. Like, who knows, there's always more to learn, but communication, protection and attraction, regeneration and restoration. So this is actually a picture of a lavender field here outside of Hood River. So Florence knows this area well. And they kind of let their oils go and help protect the plant from predators. So they can be antiviral and antifungal, anti-parasitic protection. And then of course with flowers, you know, there's pollination and reproduction. So they make it attractive. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and where do they come from? So all over the world, because plants are all over the world. So here's a bit of a map. It's really interesting. Peppermint actually comes not too far from me here in Hood River, Oregon. They're around Corvallis, and then also in Washington State, we source peppermint. But what you want is an oil that is going to have the best chemistry, a therapeutic chemistry, if you're using it in a therapeutic way, and to have it be sustainably harvested, especially something we don't harvest oils from anything that is in danger of extinction, things like that. But they come from all sorts of countries. Frankincense, one of my very favorite oils, comes from Somaliland. And you can see vetiver comes from Haiti. We'll talk about vetiver in a bit. And tea tree oil, classic, Australia there. So you want to have the plant from where it's natively grown, as it'll have the best information for the therapeutic properties for that as well. Okay. So a word about purity. I work with the highest grade essential oils, and that's what I promote if you're going to use it in a medicinal way at all. So you want to be make sure that it's sourced well, it's grown in appropriate climates, like we just saw, free of any pesticides or chemicals. And of course, that the growers are fairly paid and that's sustainable for them. And that it's sustainably harvested, so you don't overtake any of the plants, things like that. But also at the most opportune times for the highest therapeutic properties. We know if we pick a tomato in our garden too soon, it's not going to taste right. There's a really right time to pick a tomato.
Right.
And so, and also that it's distilled without chemical interaction to create a therapeutic oil. And then I want to make sure that it's gone through good testing, and especially third-party testing, to make sure it's free from any synthetic fragrances, contaminants, and additives. So in the last 10 years, essential oils have exploded on the market. And most of what you're going to see, I would say maybe even 80%, is going to be have some fillers or synthetic things in it to make it go a longer way, or not be exactly what it's on in the bottle. So a lot of the high value oils have some copycat oils that they can add in and that we won't notice the difference. So it's not going to be that. So you want to look for an oil that absolutely only that plant material from that plant is in that bottle. And unfortunately, it's an unregulated market. So there can be, you have to kind of do a little research to make sure that you're going to get the best thing for the therapeutic properties you're looking for. So that purity means that it's 100% natural and safe, and nothing's been added or taken away in the most basic sense. And okay, I think that's enough about that.
So I'm just going to add, so be careful where you're buying your oils from. Don't buy it from Ross. Buy it for
Yeah,
from a reputable
is not where you want to get frankincense. So I say if it's $10, you should really be concerned, you know. there's something. So yeah, if people say, oh, that oil really gives me a headache, and they got it at a grocery store, there's a chance that they are diffusing synthetic or chemicals and not the actual oil itself. So any other questions about what we've talked about so far?
Nope.
Anything that anybody's learned that feels interesting?
I'm fascinated by the rapidness of it diffusing into every cell of your body. That blew my mind.
Right. Yeah. And you really don't need very much. So yeah.
It just makes so much sense though, right? I mean, you know, just as we think about ourselves as part of nature, that this is out there and available to us.
Yeah. And our bodies recognize it as us. You know, plants are those who take care of us. We eat them.
I love that.
You know, yeah. This is one of my favorite quotes from Robin Wall-Kimmerer. If you have not read this book, stop this, go buy it right now. It's so good. Okay, great. So before I move forward, I want to ask, who knows where the limbic brain is? Where's our limbic brain? Do we know what the limbic brain is? So your limbic brain is that primal brain. It's the one that gets us moving without any thought process having to happen. We don't overthink things when the limbic brain is engaged. And so right under, if you squeeze your nose, right under the bridge of your nose is your olfactory nerve, one of the only exposed nerves in the entire body. And this sends messages directly to the limbic brain, which is right behind that. And then your big brain, your prefrontal cortex kind of goes all around that, but the limbic brain's pretty small, but mighty. And so that limbic brain sends messages to the rest of the body. So I want you to close your eyes right now and imagine walking in your front door. Take a breath, get out at that front door there. And as you unlock the door and open up and walk in, there's this warm scent of fresh baked cookies that comes over you. Maybe they're chocolate chip, maybe they're peanut butter, whatever your favorite is. How do you feel in your body when you imagine smelling that?
Warm and cozy.
Yeah. Did you notice a shift right away when you imagined it coming in through your nose?
Yes.
Okay. And so now we're going to rewind, get in out at that front door again. And we're going to walk in, unlock it, walk in. And now I want you to imagine being hit with the smell of smoke, the scent of something that is definitely burning. How fast does your body respond?
Immediately.
Instantly.
So that's the power of the connection between your olfactory nerve, your limbic brain, springing us into action through the body. And it connects to our emotions, it connects to our motion, our energy, everything. And that limbic brain is what is in charge of fight or flight. And so it can stop our digestion, create rapid heartbeat, like we get laser focused and we're on it, in that time period. And then to undo that, someone brought up anxiety, it takes a little bit of coaxing for the limbic brain to say, like, it's okay, you can disengage, we can get the big brain in there for now. So I wanted to give you that experience because with the same experience of imagine like zesting a lemon in your kitchen and you're making something delicious and you can instantly smell that, right? And does it have an attachment to a feeling when you think about smelling a zest of a lemon or a zest of a lime?
Makes me think of like summer,
right?
warm weather. Yeah.
Yeah. Smell is also the most like fastest way to access memories.
Oh, wow. I love that point.
Yep. Yeah. It's the fastest connection to memories. Okay. So now we're going to work into how we use essential oils as humans. So the first way we just covered is that aromatic. I've got my diffuser going here. Not sure if you can see it there. And I've usually got that going in my office all the time. I have diffusers for my car. I have a diffuser in half the rooms in my house. I have a big house. And so we use diffusion or even putting it in our hands and just taking a couple of nice deep breaths to positively affect our mood, our alert system, our alertness, our immune system. We use it to clean the air. That Purify oil that you have is just fantastic for cleansing the air. It actually can bind with some solid particles in the air and pull things out. So on the West Coast, we've experienced a lot of smoke in the summer times. And so I'll be constantly diffusing some oils to help pull out the big particles in the air. And then also to support the respiratory system. And you might know that the respiratory system, since we've talked about grief, our lungs in Chinese medicine are where grief can be held. And so when you diffuse some oils or just do a couple nice inhales, it can be really great to support that. Okay. So that's aromatic use. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. So the second way we use essential oils is topically. And again, you want to make sure that this is a therapeutic, high-grade essential oil when you do this. And we use it for localized benefits. And you can apply many oils directly to the skin. I like to say, put it where it hurts. And everyone here has experienced them this way, even if we know it or not, because essential oils are in soaps and perfumes and body lotions and shampoos. We really can't get away from it. So what health concerns do you think it would be best to use oils topically for? Any ideas for the newbies?
Like arthritis or something?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Muscle aches.
Yep. Yep. I'm a big skier. I use a lot before and after skiing, or I try to remember to do that. Exactly. So if you have something specific where it hurts, we want to apply them directly where it's needed, like tight shoulders and back pain, headaches. And then if we want it systemically, like I said earlier, the bottoms of the feet can be great because they're the least sensitive areas of the body, that it also has really big pores on the bottom of our feet. And so it's a really good way to get it pulled up through our whole body. Back of the neck, along the spine, or acupuncture channels like inside the wrist creases, the elbow creases, your solar plexus. We'll talk a little bit more about this, but if you know anything about reflexology or chakras, or you can pair essential oils to use with specific parts of the body in order to affect whole systems. And so I really like across the wrist this way, because it goes through 3 meridians in Chinese medicine: the heart, the lungs, and the pericardium. And so you're going to affect quite a bit. There's a reason that women put perfume on their wrists, because it's very heart-centered. And the pericardium is that protective piece around the heart too. Oh. So if you think about different topical places that you can use essential oils, that you can kind of get creative and think about, now, where does this want to go? And you can also be intuitive about it. Like, where should I put this? Where do I feel like I want to put this? Okay. And internally. So the third way we use high quality essential oils is internally. It's not only safe, but it's recommended. And if you have an issue, say from here to the bottom, like underneath your belly, if there's something going on in there, internally can be great, because as my naturopath reminds us, we're just one big donut. You know, there's skin on the inside, just like there is on the outside. And so just like plants, not all oils are safe for ingestion. So I want to say that. So you want to look for a label that has what we call supplement facts. I don't know if you can see this, but there's an FDA label there that says it will be safe for internal usage, and it says supplement facts. So again, you know, Bed Bath & Beyond, those are not the type of oils that you're going to get there. But you can use them in veggie caps. You can use them under your tongue. So this is frankincense, and it supports a healthy inflammation response in the body. So I use a drop under my tongue a few times a day. And I also use it in my water. So the thing about this, I have a metal straw and glass, because one really cool thing about essential oils is they're highly cleansing and they can bind with things. And with plastics, they can bind with the plastic, especially citrus oils. And so you always want to use glass or metal. But what it does when you're drinking citrus oils, which I highly recommend, that it binds with some petrochemicals, which we have a big problem with microplastics in our society now. And so our bodies are really getting toxified, but it can help you to flush out those things that don't belong. It binds with them and pulls them out gently and safely. So you only want to start with a drop or two if you're new to oils, and work your way up. So, and let's see. And all of us, again, have eaten essential oils in our life as well, because they are, if you've ever had processed foods or drinks or things like that, there's a lot of food grade essential oils. That's the largest kind of section of essential oils on the market, is food grade. So any questions there?
Well, can you say what you just said again? That the essential oils are in the processed foods?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So when you see additives or flavorings, a lot of times, since they're highly, highly concentrated, and 50 to 70 times more powerful than an herb, it takes just a few drops. So I make amazing cocktails with essential oils, and we use them in drinks and things. So they there's a lot of food grade oils. This isn't something that you would buy, would be a food grade oil. It's more for manufacturers, but that are put into foods on the market.
And would you say that like a lemon and a lime is a essential oil? I'm just so curious.
Yep.
You said you make cocktails with it, and I'm like, ooh.
Yep.
Is it the essential oil is equivalent to me taking a lime or a lemon and squeezing it in?
What's interesting about that is they come from two different parts of the plant. And so the lemon, and I do lemon in my water every morning, essential oil. And so the citrus oils come from the rind and the pith of the plant, not the protein, which when people have interactions with medications and things, it's often like, oh, don't have grapefruit because of the protein inside, but the rind can be okay. Always check with your doctor if you have any concerns at all. But that it comes from a different part of it. Okay. And so it can be highly, highly concentrated. One of my favorite drinks, I call it, oh man, what do I call it? The gin and tonic, is to take tonic water and use lime essential oil and juniper berry. And it tastes just like a gin and tonic without the gin. So if you're not, want to have a nice summer cocktail, a mocktail in the middle of the day, it's a really nice one. But yeah, they can be very concentrated. And I have lemon and lime both in my kitchen to add to guacamole or anything like that, because sometimes I just let, limes go too far or whatever. So it's really nice to have them to cook with, and they add a lot of brightness. So
thank you for that. Okay.
Hey, Melanie, can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
I was sort of fascinated what you said, because I've been reading so much about all these microplastics that are in everything now. And is it mainly the citrus oils that will bind to that, or is that just what all the oils would do?
Every oil is different, just like every plant is different. So they all have very different properties, but I believe it's mainly the citrus oils.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I had a question also on the plastic, Melanie.
Yeah.
So two questions on that. The first is some of these, and I don't know about doTERRA, but some of the oils that come in glass containers, they have plastic lids or for the dropper.
Yeah. And so there's high quality plastics and low quality plastics, even the diffusers. So these are medical grade diffusers.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I bought diffusers off of Amazon, and I've noticed that when I do a bunch of citrus oils, it gets all pitted and stuff inside there with the water. And then that doesn't happen with my higher quality diffusers. So there's different grades of plastic that won't have an issue. But in general, I just like to keep it simple and say, just don't use oils in plastic if you're going to drink it, because then you're drinking it, So, and I would say, I don't think this is a great, it's not the answer for microplastics in our body, but they really are a nice, gentle detoxifier that I make sure I drink it every day just to help out. So yeah. And it's interesting too, because they can open up. I don't want to get too far into the science or out of my wheelhouse but I learned from the naturopaths too, that if you have some lemon in the morning, it can open up the channels in your liver. So it's a really nice, gentle degunker and detoxifier. And I got prescribed some oils by an acupuncturist to help, get the gunk out of some of my filtering organs recently. So I've been doing a cleanse with them. So yeah, very gentle though. So yeah. So quiz time before we go into this. What are the 3 ways we use essential oils? Who remembers? Sherry Ann?
Through smelling.
Yep. Aromatic. Yep.
Topical.
Yep.
Ingestion.
Yep. There we go. So with a little bit of an asterisk of only the ones that are meant to be ingested.
Right.
Detail.
Perfect. I love it. Okay, so a few precautions, and there's a number of them, but these are some of the ones that I feel like I always want to tell people is that photosensitivity, so those magic citrus oils can intensify the effect of UV rays for up to 12 hours or sometimes even 24, depending on how sensitive your skin is. So you want to apply with care, especially bergamot, that's the worst. And citrus oils can be in blends and things like that. So you just want to be really mindful of put it where the sun don't shine, you know, if you're going to be putting it on your body. And then when you are using essential oils, we don't put them in our eyes or our nose or ears or anything like that. And like I said, a little goes a long way. You don't need to pour them on. And if you feel like you might have some sensitivity, you can do a skin test and put a teeny amount, even just like touch the top of the orifice and apply it to like maybe the inside of your elbow crease and wait an hour and see if you have any sensitivity. And then if you do, then you can use a carrier oil. Some people really like to always use carrier oils. I put oils all over me without them. So, but I've used them a long time. But a little goes a long way. You really don't need much. And just a note about dilution. There's all plants are different. All oils are different. Some oils we classify as hot oils like oregano and cinnamon and cassia, thyme. Those you would always want to use a carrier oil for. I've made all the mistakes for you. And I've put oregano directly on my face and ran around my house like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? And then I put water on it. Oil and water doesn't mix. That's really basic too. Water does not take off oil. Oil takes off oil. So if you have a hot oil on sensitive skin, just grab some olive oil or coconut oil or anything and to take it off. And then there's all sorts of usage charts out there to think about age appropriate dilution ratios. So for kids or elderly, things like that. And I have some references that I use at the end too. So that's that. So
I have a quick question about dilution.
Yeah.
So I want my essential oils, if I'm using it, to be as powerful as it can be for what I need.
Yep.
And I was wondering, if I dilute it, does that mean I get less?
No,
Okay.
it doesn't, which is really cool. And in fact, when we talked about volatility, so essential oils are highly volatile. When you walk in the forest, you smell oils everywhere. They want to be in the air. And what's really cool is when you use a carrier oil, it's actually going to trap it and almost time release it in.
Right.
And so when you put an essential oil on your body, about 40% is going to flash off pretty quickly. And so what you do, and first thing I do is that if I'm just using an essential oil and I'm just being quick and rubbing it in, I will take 30 seconds to like rub it in. And so to try and get it deeper into those dermal layers, or especially if I'm the large muscle groups, things like that. And then, but the other thing is when you use a carrier oil, it's going to hold it in there and it'll end up going deeper in. And yeah. So, and there's lots of tips and tricks too. So I do oil protocols on people where I'll use them up and down the spine and layer different oils. And I tend to end with something like peppermint or a rub or something, and that will actually drive it in deeper too, because it brings blood flow to the surface. So I'm getting a little far out there, but it's kind of a fun thing.
It's the tricks though. Thank you.
Yeah, lots of tricks. Okay. So what were my 3 safety tips, or 3 safety tips that you just learned? Another quiz for you.
Read the label.
Light sensitivity.
Yes. Yep.
Don't use around your eyes, your nose, your
Yes.
ears.
Excellent. Good
And
job.
then the carrier oil.
Yep. Dilute if you have any sensitivity. How am I doing, Florence?
Very, very good. Thank you.
Good. She's a pro, so.
I'm not. Oh.
Okay. Well, this is where I want to shift into some of the thoughts on what are actually the benefits. And I'm giving you a really high level view of essential oils. So we're not going to go specific and deep into anything, but I'm hoping to give you sort of a bird's eye view. And when I was thinking about how do I do this, what I love is thinking, and it's really hard to find this actually, turns out, but when I was thinking about the different types of plants out there, and plants are something that we're in community with. And from what I know from like strengths and community, we all need each other, but for different reasons, and we're all better together. Mm-hmm. And just like us, plants and oils have their own unique superpowers. Then they have their own strengths that help us to balance out, and they can be a powerful tool on our care team. And they're also really dynamic. So one oil can be used for a lot of different things. I call lavender a Swiss Army knife of oils, and frankincense is a Swiss Army knife of oils. There's a few that I don't leave home without. And some of them have really good specific jobs. They're very focused on what they do. But when I was looking at this, I think about, when we think about flowers, what does flowers bring to mind for you? How do you feel when you think about flowers?
Happy.
Right? Or when do we get flowers? When do people bring us flowers?
When they love us.
Celebration and acknowledgement.
Yeah. Maybe when we need some nourishment or some hope.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah. So, or when we're grieving.
Mm-hmm.
So an example that I have here on flowers is Helichrysum, which in the emotional realm is an oil for pain. And so I'll go through each of these, and then I'll go back and talk a little bit about specific oils a bit. But when we think of citruses, what do you think of? Again, we already touched on that, like that uplifting, thought of summer, Mary. And maybe we even think of it's a sign of abundance, creativity. And so those are the kinds of things that citruses help us with.
Feels like expanding, right? The expansive emotions.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the cool things I like is when you think about being around citrus trees, you're reaching up to grab the citrus. You're reaching up. It's up, an up feeling. And so when you think about walking in trees, how does that feel?
That feels expansive for me.
Maybe.
It is the connection. I always, after I got better, I just remember experiencing nature for the first time, hiking around trees as like my church.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they can have this soothing effect, or like restoring order and peace and balance and wisdom, feeling that sense of belonging. And trees are in community. And so one of the oils that's kind of been courting me, it keeps knocking at me, is cedarwood. And I've been like, you're okay. But it keeps coming up over and over again. And it's the oil of community. I tend to be very independent. And I'm noticing, like, as I'm getting what I call courted by an oil, that it's asking me to feel that more sense of community, what it's wanting. And then roots. So what do roots do for us? What do you think about when you're putting your hands in the dirt? Or when you think about roots?
Connection. For me.
That's very grounding.
Yeah, very grounding. Yeah. Centering, stabilizing.
Really nurturing too.
Yeah, because it pulls all the nutrients out of the soil and up into the plant. Yeah. And so vetiver is the oil of centering and descent. And what I love about this oil, this is one of the first stories that I heard, was, like I said earlier, it's grown in Haiti. And that is a land with a lot of loose soil. And vetiver has these really fine roots that kind of branch out. And what they do is they pull and hold the earth together. And so when you think of a root essential oil, what it does is it's stabilizing. It kind of pulls us together. And so this is a really nice one if you have, if you feel like you need to be more grounded or centered, if there's a lot of anxiety and you're kind of out here, or especially prior to sleep. I will warn you, I call it my crazy Haitian voodoo dreams. The first few nights I used vetiver, I was like, whoa, it gave me some amazing dreams. I still remember them. But, and so that's is like using the energy of the oil. And, but it's really helps to pull you together. And so another thing I found in my research that I found was really interesting is where the essential oil is located in the plant is also the dominant energy of that species. And it gives you an understanding of what, the part of life it helps us with. So vetiver, like I said, that the essential oil in vetiver comes from not the leaves, but it comes from the root of the plant. And that's helping us be grounded and it's helping us find our stillness. And so it can be a great one for sleep. It can be, it's in my diffuser right now in a blend. And when we think of like rose essential oil, that comes from the petals and it comes from and it influences emotions and love and attraction, things like that. So where the oil comes from in the plant can be very different. And some plants have different oils for different parts of it, but a lot of plants only have an oil in one area. So this is sort of that bigger view. And there's other descriptions for resins. Frankincense comes from a resin, and that one is used for immunity and protection and flow within the plant, things like that within like the trunk of the tree. And then bark, when you think about bark, that's like protects the tree. And then leaves, and that's out there in the air, and leaves are kind of help you out being I think about tea tree, which is a nice boundary blend. Like it has this boundary with the leaves. So, but it also helps you interact. And then there's some oils that come from seeds, and those can be for like nourishment and growth. And if we have low energy or sluggish thinking, things like that, or creativity, then a seed oil can be really helpful to facilitate movement for us.
Ooh, you just popped something in my head. I think this is going to appeal to Kelly too, is burnout.
Yes.
What oil would help in that area?
So what I love to do is I almost think about like false emotion with that. Like when you have burnout, what's underneath that you need? What's the emotion that, because we want to get really clean with what it is that we are either looking for, that we're trying to bring in, or that we want to let ourselves be present to. So if we're in burnout, are we going too hard?
Right. Overwhelm.
Yeah. Yeah. And overwhelm is that real shut down feeling. So that can be to, use something that might help you just take rest for a bit, or help you say no, like a tea tree, or what's coming to mind for that? Oh, there's one oil, it's on the tip of my brain, that kind of helps us select things like coriander, select what the right thing to do is. Yeah.
Kelly, what else is underneath burnout?
Well, sadness, a lot of the same things that when somebody gets diagnosed with cancer, I find there's a lot of similarities that are hiding.
And
And then now in COVID, I mean, I just feel like
Yeah.
burnout.
There's a blend that we have called Breathe, which I think can be really helpful because that's going to expand the lungs and help you to have that sense of safety within yourself first, like that you can take a breath
Mm.
and open up a little bit to what else is possible.
Mhm.
But again, with something like burnout, you're going to want to address the underlying thing
Mhm.
and be able to select, like, okay, what is it that I really need?
Also helpless, hopeless, and not being able to express the anger sometimes, or overwhelmed with the anger.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to get into that in a minute. So let me go forward here and see what's next here.
Just so you know, I'm loving this. Thank
Oh,
you.
good.
so
Okay.
much.
Oh, good. Good. So this is another quote that I just adore.
Mhm.
I have a bit of a twist on it, but connection is the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. I'm going to substitute people for beings because this is honestly how I feel about my oils when I use my oils.
Mm.
That there's also Brene Brown, I'm reading her book, Atlas of the Heart, which is also another fantastic book right now, but talking about belonging and that we need to belong to ourselves first. And that involves understanding our authentic self. So a lot of times when we're having these emotions going on, we feel like we should be something else, or worried about the past or the future, or so we're not in the present and we're not honoring or feeling our own self-acceptance and without judgment. And so what an oil does, it's totally neutral. It wants the best for you. And it helps us to get present to ourselves, to not feel judged, to have a little bit more strength, and then be able to take a step. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Totally.
And
And I like beings in there because that's how I feel about my dog. So.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, how do you feel when you feel connected?
And what comes up for me is nature. And when we're talking about essential oils, it's like I don't have access to all these plants right here.
Yeah.
But I do with my box of essential oils.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 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 And I think about where you are, like you have access to some elements. And so you can get some nature in the air and things like that. But it's, these are the things we can have right away, right there. And so my friend in the kitchen is lavender, on a physical level. I use it when I burn myself a lot in the kitchen. I'm kind of klutzy. And so that lavender is a very interesting oil because it's all about, let's just calm down here. And it's really great at calming reactions, histamine reactions in the physical sense. I get now and then muscle spasms. Who knew lavender would be the thing for that? So it's like, and emotionally, it helps us to really go into our heart and feel a lot more calmer. So that's an oil that I can grab to like, okay, center and calm. And Frankincense or Helichrysum, I wanted to tell this story. During that time period, I had a number of years where I had a lot of grief and deep pain that I didn't quite know what to do with because there wasn't really anything I could do. And there was a lot of pain of separation. And I had an oil mentor say, oh dear, Helichrysum on your heart, 2 weeks. And my heart had hurt for a couple of years. And Helichrysum loves to soothe the heart and make me feel safe. And and it also goes for deep pain. And so I put this oil over my heart, and the pain went away in a few weeks. So that I experienced for a couple of years. And it was tied to an emotion. I had been to my doctor and asked if I was okay. And I'd even had energetic workers ask me, like, is something wrong with your heart? And I was starting to really be afraid, but that, and this is not a substitute for doctor, I'd been to the doctor. And anyway, and so it was really just this deep pain that we have. But it was something that I needed to see and feel. I needed to have that connection and feel that, because the people I had pain with, I was not going to get that connection with them.
Mhm.
That pain of disconnection was really part of it. And so I needed to feel seen and heard in that. I'll sprinkle some more oil stories as we go, but connection is wellness. So I want to get into a little bit of the three brains here. When we're all in connection, like we talked about when we walked in the house and there was warm cookies, my heart feels good. And how lovely, I'm going to have a cookie soon. That feels good when everything's connected. And as soon as we had that trigger of smelling something burning, everything disconnected. Everything went into like, okay, we need to be on it. So think about that moment that you said that you feel connected, where walking in the woods, things like that. And you can think about how your body feels in that. Okay. And so here's a little bit about the three brains. I'm trying to be science light, but I keep getting into it. So we've got our logic and intellect and the big brain, but our subconscious really directs over 90% of our behavior. Our intuition comes from our heart, and there's more neural pathways that run actually from the heart to our brain than the other way around. So the heart is the real one in charge. And then we've got our gut feelings. All of our serotonin and the feel-good chemicals come from our gut. So we want to keep that gut happy as well. And when they're all connected, things are good. But dun, 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 we have a life experience. And then we start processing. I feel overwhelmed. I'm stuck. I need to figure this out. And then everything disconnects. And can people feel this right now?
Yes.
Unfortunately, yes.
Right. And then, especially there's a lot of coaches in the room, we start to, because of this trigger, we then start to make stuff up about ourselves. Like, oh, I'm not good enough. I must not be good enough because I'm having a life experience, So this is the worst. So, and then we start watering that belief and thinking that, and with this disconnection, we can really spiral out. So there's always something we're attached to, and some resistance, things like that, something we don't want. And you might think about a life situation that's problematic for you right now, and think about, how does that make you feel? Or what feelings does it bring up? And do you have a couple of feeling words that it might bring up for you?
Where I kind of went, Melanie was like, I get tense, and I'm not sure what feelings under it, but it's an anxiety of like, I gotta go get this done. I gotta get this right.
Yeah, restriction and like,
yeah,
tension.
judgment. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And there's some things, I call it's sort of our home base. It's the way we've gotten things done in the past. So I need to tense up and get things done. And we know it doesn't feel good in our body, but it's like, well, this is just how I do it.
Yeah.
And so it can be a bit of an emotional home base for us.
I like that. Emotional home base.
Mm-hmm. So think about that. What is your emotional home base in times when you're stressed?
I like how you added that extra part, in times when you're stressed.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like lockdown, like the world, instead of being spacious, starts getting small.
Right. Right.
Mary's laughing.
Well, I've because the word that popped in my head was like, I resent it. I resent that I don't have more control.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Okay. Well, here's some feeling words too. So we might be able to match some up.
Mm-hmm. Bitter.
I can just step into every one of them. Discouraged, disinterested, bored.
Oh, look, your shame.
There's that old friend, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've driven this wheel.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that disconnection happens. There's a body-centered thing that happens. There's a belief that happens. There's feelings that are then triggered from that limbic system. And feelings are just chemicals in the body. They're a chemical reaction in the body. So what's cool is we can use another chemical to help. But one thing that I love is that what we just did is it got us to think about it. It got us to think about what is it that I'm truly feeling, you know? And then what we can do is we can match it up with a type, a plant family. Say, oh yeah, that's right. When I feel disconnected, those herbs and grasses can help pull me together.
Mm.
Or when I feel shame or grief or sadness, those trees, they can help me feel solid and like I have belonging. So the first thing you do is you need to actually think about, where am I?
Mm-hmm.
And then you grab an oil to help process that emotion. And then it's like, just like when a friend grabs our hand, it helps us shift up a little bit on the vibrational scale. And then we have more access to a different perspective. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Totally.
I love this chart.
Yeah. I also really like how it's not you really have to get in touch with the feeling first, right? This is not just like a magic, just use the oil. It's like, you really have to get in touch with that. And be aware. So.
Yeah. And once, just like when we all have best friends, I grab my bestie Frank and we hang out. And if I don't know what to do, when in doubt, get Frank out. That's what I do. I go for the trees. And
I know we're talking about essential oils, but when I'm seeing this chart, it's like, oh, if I'm in discontent or anger here, it's like I could just go lie in find myself a meadow and lay down too and get infused with that.
Yeah, the energy of that. And if that feels like, oh, that's a little far to go, then you can grab an oil for it too.
Right.
So,
exactly.
Yep, exactly. And so these are some sample blends that are emotional blends that are meant for this sort of a thing. But I just wanted to put this in here so that you can kind of put it all together of like, oh, that's what we might use. And again, oils are very dynamic. So different oils can be used for very different things. But what I like to, think about is that, an oil can really support us to change our state.
Mm-hmm.
And state change is one of the biggest things to pull into a different perspective. And I'll even have you notice too, it's like, how are you sitting right now? And is there a small shift that you could make that would open your body up a little bit? It's like, I put my head back and my shoulders back a little bit. It relaxes my back. And did that change your perspective?
Yes.
Yeah.
Immediately brought me back to my body.
Right. Yeah. So these are our little tips and tricks that we can do to think about what's a state change. And yes, the essential oils are really going to help because it's a chemical state change. When we really get stuck, Like we have an emotional home base, like I said, or we're in a season of grief.
Mhm.
So I want to tell one story about just the impact that of me using an oil. I had unfortunate news a long time ago, not that long ago, but of a friend passing away. That was from an accident. And I was on my way to deliver a coaching program to 40 people in a workshop. And I had to call our other dear friend who was much closer to him than me and tell her and deliver the news. And I knew she was going to be wrecked and devastated. She was angry and she's like, no, this can't be true. And she actually needed to go and help out with the situation, but I was the one who told her about it. And so I grabbed for one of my go-to oil blends at the time that was an uplifting one. And this was also during that hard time in my life. And I swear I was gripping this oil for 3 months. Every day I wanted it on me. I wanted to smell it. I needed to have it. And I was feeling despair but I needed to function. I was working and people needed me. I needed to be of service. And so I could use this oil, get myself to a place of functioning. And then when I slipped back down, I'd put more on and I would put it on like 6 times a day, like, I need it. And so then what was really fascinating to me is about 3 months in, I went to grab the oil as I did every single day. And I smelled it and I was like, it smelled neutral to me all of a sudden. It did not smell like anything I wanted to put on my body. And I said my tank was now full with that oil and it was a different season. It had carried me through that season of grief and support and needing to be in action. And it had been like a best friend during that time. And then that I was through that season and I didn't need it anymore. And I was so, so grateful. And that it doesn't matter what that oil was because it's going to be different for everybody, what their thing is, what their friend and they needed, So
what I'm grabbing from this is that it's more of an ally that sits there with you, that helps boost you, kind of like you said, you're a best friend.
Yep.
And it's nourishing you with what you need so that it doesn't take you out of what you're going through, but it gives you the resources to deal with the emotion and what's here and the circumstances.
Yeah. I could easily be talking about this on our roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Because it's one of the things that it really can be there for you in the worst of times. But it's not, you're going to be the thing that pulls you out, in the end, but it's going to be an ally that helps you to have a different perspective, all that. Okay.
Nice.
So here's the different ways that we use them again. So again, smell is the fastest way to affect mood. I'm almost through the slides. I know we're getting there on time. And topically, we talked a little bit about this, but different ways that you can use them. And one thing, so a lot of people get digestion issues when they're having a hard time. And so there's some digestive oils that help us to digest life and to eat. And so it helps to then sort of work backwards to trigger our limbic brain. Like, it's okay to have a settled stomach right now. It's okay. You don't have to feel nauseous. So when I go through a big energy shift, I experience nausea. And so I'll grab some digestive oils and put them over my belly, and then that energy moves. So you can repair, like I said, putting things over your heart and to help with the emotional things that you're going through. So the physical and the emotional are connected. And then it helps that limbic brain to calm down and get that big brain back on board. Okay. So I thought this was fun because there's strengths people in the room, but think about like, what is the best of us? The best of ourselves. And here's some different of the Clifton strengths, but there's a lot of highly sensitive people out there and in our community, you know, that are very empathetic. And I want to give you a trick with using oils. And tea tree is one of my oils that is a really good one. It's great for energetic boundaries, but I also want to give you a concept from one of my oil mentors that you always want to cleanse first. So when we talked about burnout or anxiety or things like that, if we're highly sensitive, we can take on a lot of baggage. We can take on other people's feelings. We have these ties. And so tea tree is a really quick oil to cut that, to cord cut. And so back of the neck, the wrists, over your heart, over your throat. So very first thing, if you're feeling overwhelmed or energetic, or like we're not around a lot of people, but when we are, we're like, whoa, that was a lot of people.
Yeah.
Use some tea tree oil afterwards. And it cuts that off. And then you can do some nourishing of using another oil to nourish. So if you're reaching for an oil to nourish, but you feel overwhelmed or like, use tea tree first, clean all that off and then nourish. So another great for highly empathetic people is a lot of times we can get bogged down or not sure how to express ourselves, and lime or citrus oils can bring us up a little bit, the oil of a zest of life. And we're more able to engage and be in our joy place and have honesty, all that. So connectedness is my number one talent. And so Frank is one of my best friends. And this is that really, it sort of supports that feeling of unification and belonging and feeling loved and protected. And cedarwood, again, this oil that's been courting me, that is that oil of community. And then I'm high activator as well. And blue tansy is another oil that's really helpful for me in particular for that, because I can be a procrastinator. I want to get started. And all I can think about is getting started, but things haven't like fallen into place. I don't know how to put the idea into action yet. And so blue tansy, you can put that on my third eye and on around my belly button and things, and it can different areas on the body that it can help inspire action and cut through the procrastination. And then ginger is a really nice oil of empowerment. It's to help us to really become present in life and participate in life. If we've been through something big, a lot of times we feel like we're sort of in the backseat of life. And so to kind of get our power back and
Wow.
Yeah. So
Melody, I'm so glad you did this, because I've been sitting here going, oh my God, it's like individualization. You can like, it's in my top 10. Like, this is awesome. Everybody needs what they need.
Exactly. We all have different things. That we need. And this is the thing, it's hard for me to say, these are the oils you should use, because you really have to sort of see what's going to court you with the oils. There are some real basics, which I would say are great for any, anyone, but I want you to think about, like, who is your support team? Who is it that you go to for things? What is it that you need?
Yeah.
And then maybe think about what oils could I use to really support myself, and this gift of empowerment of first having something that we can go to and have that relationship with ourselves about self-acceptance, about what we're going through, and feel empowered, and then be able to help take action. So I just have, I think, 2 more slides here. And one is, here's some.
I love that part. I mean, that last slide, that's like, it's so
Isn't that cool?
Cancer Journey Institute.
Right.
For our coaches, it's like, okay, I just like more of this, please.
Right. Yeah. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Yeah. So here's some of the resources that I use all the time. So this Essential Emotions book, when I said it's the oil of empowerment or the oil of pain, it came from, this is an older version. But this, you can look up any oil and see the emotional use for it. And then on the physical side, I really like the Essentials of the Earth. And it has all sorts of things that you can look up and understand what oils might be good for that. Different oils work for different people, so we can never say, oh, you need exactly this one. And then I thought Mary would like this. There's an anchor your things book. So this is talks about a concept of anchoring, which we use in coaching, and you can actually anchor your own talents. But even if you have an emotional home base that's like joy that you want, you can anchor joy for yourself. Anchor that to wild orange. Think of like a joyful experience, and then when you need a little lift, you grab that wild orange, and that's your trigger to think, oh yeah, okay, there's joy again. So these are some fun resources that you can use. And then if you want to get in touch, that's my info too. You're welcome to get in touch too. So
and Melanie, what I'd love to do is to have this was a spectacular presentation. I mean, seriously, I'm like, you went over and above what I thought you could do. And I knew you were the right person. So it's like, oh my God, for coaches and our clients and just everyone going through a cancer journey, this is just so helpful and important because we feel so unresourced during that time.
Right.
And I would love to have put this on our YouTube channel, and then we'll send you the video and have you could do whatever you want with it, of course. But this was spectacular.
Yeah.
Aww.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you. I'm trying to find my cursor so I can get back to our stuff. There we go. Fantastic.
Melanie, do you have time for one question?
I have to, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
So back to the tea tree and the importance of first cleansing before we apply or take in the others. Tea tree, I really don't like.
I'm so glad you brought this up. I am so glad you brought this up. Okay. So if we really are like repelled by an oil, or if we really, really love it, most of the time you need it.
I've heard that.
In both circumstances. Yeah. And so do you have an issue with the things that tea tree brought up, like maybe boundaries or energetic connections or, and maybe not, it might be too much to get into, but you don't even have to smell it very much. So again, you could even use it if you really have a hard time, you could use it on the bottom of your feet. But I would actually suggest working with the oil for a while in a place you can't smell it, because I had the same thing. So there was a blend that it just smelled awful on me. And it was a women's blend that everyone was in love with. They were like, oh my gosh, it smells amazing. And I was like, that smells awful. Like I gave it away. I never give away oils. I was like, you want it? It's great. It's great. Cause I don't even want it in my life anymore. And I realized at that time, so the time that I was having, it was really hard time. And I was not in touch with my feminine side. I needed to warrior through. Like I was not at all in touch with what that oil was trying to do for me, which was help me be like a beautiful flower and, and be feminine and all that. And other women were just loving it. And so it was really fascinating because 3 years later, I was exposed to the oil again. I finally got it again. And I smelled it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. What was I thinking? And the way it had mixed with my chemistry, and I had gone through some digestive things and things like that. So our body chemistry changes all the time, just like our taste buds. And so I just invite you to be curious when you're using them and not create any, false or any ideas of well, no, that's, but there are other oils that we can use for cleansing as well. Besides tea tree that you might like lemongrass is one. Trying to think of other ones that are good for that, for clearing.
Yeah. And thinking back, it's been years because I was a massage therapist when I would sometimes bring in tea tree. And then I did have problems with boundaries then. So it'd be interesting now with curiosity to smell it and see how I respond.
Totally.
Yeah. Even frankincense can be an oil to help clear energy a little bit for you.
Is it? Oh, I love frankincense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I would suggest tea tree because it's the go-to, Yeah. Yeah. I love that question. What else? What else did we bring up? Any other questions?
I had that same experience with tea tree, and I did not like it at all. And when I got exposed to it, what it could do, and I made myself use it, it made a huge difference. And now I just feel I'm so grateful because it's one of my best friends for, any kind of protection that I need around me. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
may not like it. I did not like it. I was not going to use it.
Yeah.
But, and then, if you go back to the emotion, what's the emotion behind it? It certainly makes sense, just like what Kelly said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. How did I do?
I think this is an excellent presentation, and thank you.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this, Melanie. It's awesome.
Oh, good. I'm so glad, Mary. Yeah, it's really fun to challenge. Like I've taught in so many ways. I can probably combined like 5 different sorts of classes that I would have taught in more specifically to kind of try and get to the ideas that I really wanted to convey. So it's fascinating how dynamic oils are and how much we can use them for. But I really wanted to have you think about the connection between the physical and the emotional, and how I think that real connection with our body can be one of the biggest gifts of using oils, to have to stop and think, how am I feeling?
Yeah.
And then give yourself a gift of a moment of giving yourself something and, communing with nature. Specifically.
Well, we also say that emotions are messengers. So, I mean, you just could the linkage of they're wanting something, they're wanting our attention. And if we pay attention and give it time and the pause that you're talking about, it's like, what is it that I need?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, buying books and just, I mean, this is perfect just to give a baseline understanding, but it's like, and I've been using oils for a long time and I'm like fascinated and my interest is more piqued, and it's like, oh, I need more oils because I need more resources.
Right.
Especially since we're stuck at home.
Yeah. It's been great to have these at home and help to support our moods. And, and you can be pretty sneaky in your house too. If there's a prevailing mood in the house, just go fill some diffusers. See what happens. See what happens if you become like a little magician, if it's fun to play, to say, okay, I just can't quite cut through this. What do I need? Maybe I need some motivation. So I'm going to get some peppermint in there, or, and I purposely kept out blends because I think it is, I don't want to tell you exactly what to use because it's fun to sort of play and discover. But there's tons of really great blends out there to help to support us in what we might be looking for, So
I have a question about the diffusing. I remember, and I don't have the source. I can't remember if it was a holistic vet or who it was. And they said be very, very careful about diffusing with especially dogs in the house.
Yep. I'm really glad you brought that up too, because one of the things that is important is to use high quality essential oils, because otherwise you're just like, if you're plugging in a bunch of like air fresheners, that's really not great for dogs either, because you're spreading chemicals, and a little goes a long way. So if you're using it with pets, then you want to make sure that they have an escape route. You don't want to lock them in a bathroom with a diffuser. Because think about their sense of smell is like thousands of times, more intense than ours. But what often happens is when you're diffusing something for your mood or whatever, they're going to go and lay under the diffuser because they're loving it, and the pets love it. There's a lot of books on using essential oils with pets, but with cats, they have a different way that they process chemicals than humans or dogs do. And so they definitely need, and they're much smaller. So, a lot less, but if you're going to use oils with pets, I say get a book or follow some of the vets that use it. But you just want to make sure it's totally safe. Just don't lock them in the room with it, and make sure that they can choose to leave. But they won't, they're going to self-select. So that's why, a dog feels sick, it's going to go out and eat some grass. It's going to self-select what it needs. They're very smart with plants. So I think,
in that same vein, if we were suspecting that there was pain, but they couldn't vocalize it. So like Helichrysum
Yep.
for pain or.
Yeah. Frankincense is a really go-to one for animals. That's a fabulous one. That's very safe. If an oil has a locking cap on it, like a child-proof cap, then that's a little signal, like wintergreen or I'm trying to think what the other ones. There are ones that you would want to be more careful with. But frankincense is one of, especially for our community, it's really great for healthy cellular response. And it's one that I use 4 or 5 times a day because of a history of unhealthy cellular response. So that is a really good one for pain, and it's really good topically, internally, and diffuse, and it's also really nice for mood too. So that's a great go-to with animals.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Yeah.
We could we could sit here and talk to you for 5 hours.
I know, it's a problem. That's exactly it. I know. Yeah.
So Melanie, let me ask, like, what's the best way to get started or how to connect with you to learn more?
Sure. So what I normally do is have like a one-on-one, like we would with coaching, and say, what is it that you're looking for? What is it you need? And then I'll set you up with a selection or a way to, a range of ways that you could get started. Okay. And then help you to get connected with purchasing it online. So I work with people all over the world with them. So yeah, but I like to think about what is it that you're looking for and not get overwhelmed and then start just with what you're actually going to use,
Cool.
Oh, yeah. So you can get a hold of me on my website, melaniemccloskey.com, or my email is melaniemccloskey@gmail.com. So
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. This was so fun. Really glad.
This feels like magic. And I want to just kind of put the bug in everyone's ear that next month our value that we're celebrating is magic. So I don't know, it feels like there's a carryover. I know. Stay tuned for what we're having next month.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I hope this met the needs for soulful, connection. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I will say the hardest thing with using essential oils, this is what I want you to remember, just like our allies in real life with picking up the phone, is actually like learning to open the bottle. That is the most difficult thing with using essential oils, is remembering that they're there for us and to take that action. And so, so I hope that I've inspired you a little bit.
I love
You've inspired me a lot.
Yay!
Yeah, me
Great.
too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Melanie.
Yeah, you are so welcome.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.